This weekend, Israel and Iran trading missile strikes, with Iran firing a fresh wave Monday morning, and Israel warning residents of Tehran to evacuate ahead of new attacks. Here, you're looking at what's left of Iran's Kermanshah missile facility after Israeli strikes. Joining me now for more on this is retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow and military expert at Defense Priorities, also the host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Sir, thank you for being here. Let's start with a little bit of the why, specifically why now? We know Israel has been concerned for a long time about Iran's nuclear program. So what is it that prompted them to initiate this strike late last week?
Well, they claimed that they had new intelligence that shows that Iran had made a decision to go to a bomb, et cetera. But of course, we just have to take their word for it because we don't have any evidence of it. The U.S., through Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, said on March 25th, we still have no evidence that they've made a political decision to go for a bomb. So it's really unclear. I mean, we have to just reading between the lines, it really looks like, and when you've been listening to Israeli officials for many, many months, and even longer than that in some cases, they wanted to, quote, take care of this, the head of the octopus is what they have called this, Naftali Bennett in particular, and this is a once-in-a-50-year opportunity to take care of Iran once and for all. I don't think that, honestly, that they wanted President Trump to have a successful negotiation with them. I think they wanted to try to solve it militarily. I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, and a lot of the reporting from that region suggests that there is really no quick end in sight, that what has been going on over the past few days is different than similar skirmishes we've seen between these two nations in the past. What, from what you're seeing, would it take for a ceasefire between these two countries?
Well, I don't see any evidence that Israel wants a ceasefire. In fact, they keep on ramping up their offensive operations. They say that there are a lot more of these strikes to come. If they were willing to have a ceasefire, I think they would have never started the thing in the first place. So I think, just being honest, we have to see that they want to have a military solution to solving this political problem. But the problem is, just like they did, they also wanted a military solution to the Hamas problem. Well, you see now we're on whatever it is, 19 months and counting so far. There's no end in sight there either. They still had the issue with the Houthis in the Red Sea. Hezbollah has been severely weakened, but they've not been they've not been destroyed. So they're still there. They're just kind of in hibernation right now. Now you've added the Iran situation to it. And unless you get, unless this sparks a civil war inside of Iran and causes the opposition to rise up and overthrow the regime, and I think that there's real reason to think that is what the Israeli side is hoping, but if that doesn't work out, then you've got an open-ended conflict now, because you're not going to win a war by a bunch of missiles, and so or drones or any of the other airstrikes, all that. You can create a tremendous amount of damage. You can't win a war if you don't, though, have boots on the ground, and nobody's contemplating boots on the ground on either side here. So you're left with an open-ended situation to where you don't have an obvious or easy exit, because you don't have an achievable military objective. That's the big problem.
Yeah, and you mentioned President Trump. Of course, this comes in the midst of the U.S. negotiating with Iran about its nuclear program. We know that the president was hopeful that these negotiations could be successful. Those are now on pause. But what is the U.S. role right now in this conflict?
Well, so far, the actual role is we continue to provide Israel with all the bombs, missiles, air defense systems, and interceptor missiles, et cetera, that it needs. We have physically taken part, according to the Pentagon, in shooting down Iranian missiles and drones. So we're actively participating in the defense of Israel. We have not so far taken part in any offensive action, and of course Iran is warning that if we do, that they're going to take our troops under in the Middle East under fire, and that would be really a catastrophic outcome for the United States. If we get sucked into this war, many bad things can happen, and certainly American troops could be killed, because as many of those images you're showing on your screen there of all these Iranian missiles blowing through the air defense capability for Iran, for Israel, we have even less of those capabilities in many of our bases in the area, and would be even more vulnerable than Israel does. If we get into a war with Iran, they do have the capacity to hit our troops, and they would be virtually defenseless against them.
Yeah, and we know, as you just mentioned, President Trump certainly does not want to get sucked into that conflict, but he also doesn't want to be the president in office if Iran actually does develop a nuclear weapon. What are some of the dynamics that this White House is facing right now with those things, and also the continued support or perceived support of the U.S. For Israel?
And listen, I mean, you got to be honest and say that the only reason we're in this situation now with Iran is because we got out of the deal we had in place that had put severe constraints on Iran in the 2015 JCPOA, which Trump got out of in 2018. That's the point where you have to start, because you can say that the 2015 deal had flaws, and who's to argue that? It certainly did. But to say we're going to take something that's imperfect and get rid of it, and then all the constraints that were on Iran were now taken off, and then now they moved up to 60% reprocessing from whatever, I think it was 3.67 under the JCPOA. Now then we're at the point to where we're saying we want a new negotiation. We want to make it even more restrictive on Iran, but we don't want to give anything for it. So not surprisingly, that didn't reap any benefits. So if you want a good negotiation settlement to get more from Iran, you're going to have to give more. Or we're going to have the situation we're in right now, where we're on the brink of possibly joining a war because they are not doing what we want, which also you have to take into consideration. There is nothing in international law that prohibits Iran from having reprocessing capability. It's in the NPT that we're a signatory to. It's legal for any country to have that kind of reprocessing position for their nuclear energy infrastructure, et cetera. You can't demand that they stop it or go to war with them. And that's kind of what we're in the process of trying to do.
All right, retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you so much for making sense of this very volatile situation, sir.
You bet. Thanks.